So after all the hype, all the money, and all the marketing by Activision into this game, does Bungie deliver with Destiny? Did they manage to create an amazing game as promised, or is this some overhyped piece of garbage? The answer is somewhere in the middle of that, sort of like a YouTube order in between a fuck you sandwich. Now, after playing this game almost non-stop for a week, along with almost the entire weekend, and progressing pretty far with the game, I must say there are some great things about this game, as well as some major downfalls that makes it feel like an incomplete game. But the big thing that this game has is the fun factor that I've been looking for. Now, I've said this before in videos, I said this in the Goodbye PlayStation 3 series, but the quality of a game and how much fun you have are two different things. You can have fun with a shitty game. You can find an excellent game but not have fun with it. There is a difference between a quality game that was built and designed well compared to a game that isn't built well but provides fun for someone to play. And the main difference is that the quality and design of a game can be pretty much universally measured by any reviewer. You know, things like voice acting, the plot, whether the game runs smooth, does it have enough content, does it have massive glitches, shit like that. They're pretty standard across the board, unless you get some dickhead that doesn't know how to do reviews about games and they'll praise or rip something just for the sake of being a fucking moron. Then you have the fun factor. That is immeasurable. What you find fun, I might find boring. What I find fun, you may find stupid. I will not play puzzle games, but Portal 2 is one of the best made games possible. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is not a highly rated game, but I had massive amounts of fun playing that shit. And I would go back to that game any day compared to something like the Mass Effect digital port that we got on PlayStation 3, because Marvel Ultimate Alliance was fun, but the port of Mass Effect that we got, as great as the game was for Xbox, was horrible to play on PlayStation 3. Mass Effect is a much better game, but I didn't have fun playing it because it was such a glitchy game. Mass Effect 3 was not a better product than Mass Effect 2, but I sank over 1,000 hours into the co-op portion alone because it was fun for me. With Destiny, this is not a well-built game. It has a number of flaws that makes this game feel incredibly incomplete and almost somewhat confused. However, on the flip side, it's a shitload of fun to play. I'll tell you right now, if a score came back giving this game a 5 out of 10, I wouldn't be surprised. 7 out of 10 wouldn't be surprising either, nor would a 10 out of 10 for people who just think fun equates to the quality of a game. You know, idiots will actually think that. Fun does not equate to quality, period. But Destiny is a game that I'm going to be playing for a shitload of hours. Flaws and all. Like most social-driven games, playing with friends in this game is what makes this shit incredibly entertaining. Playing with your friends and either completing missions, fucking around, is what games are meant to do. Destiny has loads of variety of content that allows for that. You have the ability to play the campaign solo or have friends join you. You have the ability to jump into a friend's game and party with them while they're doing the campaign. You can explore the pseudo open world that this game has, or jump into a structured co-op mission together. You can even do this with complete randoms. There's obviously the Crucible, where players will want to test their skills against other players, and that's something you pretty much find in any shooter game these days. So the content feels like it's there, but the problem is that the game is limited by the amount of variety in the content and the absolutely shitty campaign and the plot. Holy fuck, man. You know, sure, it's gonna take you a long time to complete all the shit in the game, but for the most part, it all feels the same. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. The missions feel the same. From the story to the exploration to the strike missions, it feels the fucking same. The missions are fun, but whether they put these missions on one of the 4 planet locations, they feel identical, except it's in a different setting against different enemies. Let's start with the campaign first, because this shit has major issues. First of all, the story is just incredibly weak. I mean, it really is. There is so much potential in this story and idea, and it just falls completely flat. You get almost no explanation on what the fuck the Traveler is. The most central part of the story gets absolutely no explanation whatsoever. It arrived, it changed the galaxy, that's it. No, really, that's it. That's all we get. Why get nothing about the most central part of this fucking game? What happened to it? Why did it come here? What the fuck does it do? We get nothing on the darkness at all. Its main enemy. Essentially, the game doesn't answer a damn thing. What does the darkness want? Why is it after the Traveler? What the fuck is the darkness to begin with, other than just some gigantic fucking black blob? You get virtually nothing about the enemies other than they are enemies. That's it. The Vex are assholes, the Cabals are assholes, and the Fallen don't like you, and the Hive are brainless fucking zombies. That's the gist of the enemies. You know nothing about Exos and Awoken, and what the fuck are they in the story for? And no, I'm not going over a website to read them about a fucking Grimoire card when it should be in the fucking game to begin with. Tell me what they are so I don't have to go to a fucking website. You get a stranger in the middle of the game visit you and say she's not a guardian, yet no explanation as to what she is or where she came from. She tells you she has no time to explain, yet at the end of the game, you see her again and she tells you nothing and just disappears. On Earth, you're told about some motherfucker named Rasputin, which is some sort of AI or whatever the fuck it is. You don't hear about this shit until the end of the game, almost the final fucking mission, and it's a pretty optional mission because you could just go to the end of the game without actually seeing that mission. It's fucking stupid, man. Your job is to protect the traveler and the last of humanity before the enemies take over. And as you jump from mission to mission, you get some background from your ghost during the loading screens. You get a couple of cutscenes that aren't worth a pot to piss in, but at no point does this story engage the audience. Grand Theft Auto is engaging. The Last of Us is engaging. BioShock is engaging. Here, you have to protect something without really knowing what you're protecting other than someone telling you it's fucking important. There's absolutely no story. It's not even a bad story. There isn't any story. It's just a campaign of random missions with a few cutscenes mixed the fuck in. In this day and age of games, with something like The Last of Us and BioShock, how the fuck does someone approve a campaign like this with absolutely no story? No, honestly, you're doing a space age game on the heels of Halo and Mass Effect as prior space age games. Obviously, they did Halo, but Mass Effect is also another space age game. Yet this is the best you can think of for a fucking story? Who wrote this shit? Who approved that, yes, this must be a great fucking idea for a story? I mean, this doesn't even come close to what Mass Effect created in terms of a story, and at least they fucking explained their goddamn enemies. Whoever wrote this story should be fired immediately. Bungie seriously needs a better writer because this is just outright terrible. I don't know if it's an employee of theirs or they hired somebody to write this shit, but clearly they had no intention of explaining anything in this fucking game. The next issue, the story missions themselves, it's the same shit. Same shit no matter what story, what planet, what enemy. Everything follows the same concept outside of one decent mission with a fucking sword. You bring the ghost somewhere. He scans something and then says, protect me because I'm a worthless little shit. No, really. Every fucking mission works the same way. Bring the ghost to a panel, scan it, sit back, and wait for enemies to arrive and beat the shit out of them. I mean, really? Did Bungie think this was the best way to do all the missions? The same shit each and every time? Come on, man. Each time you visit a new planet or the moon or whatever the fuck, you have to do the same thing. Head to a main console, uplink your fucking Sparrow so that you can move around. As soon as you get to a new planet, you have no control over the Sparrow. So, of course, the first thing you have to do is go get control of the Sparrow. After that, then go find the enemies on the planet that threaten the traveler. How do they threaten him? Well, we really don't find out or get a good explanation why. You just have to fucking do it. I mean, really, where's the variety? How about a mission where the stranger helps you and you guys roll together in a party? How about something like that? How about some more vehicle missions like stealing an interceptor instead of just one pike? Obviously, the interceptor's on the map, but it's not part of the mission, central part of the mission, that is. We got the Sword of Crota mission, which I mentioned before, and that's the best fucking thing in the game. How about some more of that? How about some stealth missions? How about some missions where the ghost is offline or something and you're on your own with absolutely no help? Or a mission requiring you to run away from something or race away from something on your Sparrow? Nope, none of that. You have all this shit in the game, yet you'd use the same fucking plot devices each and every time. Scan this, protect the motherfucker. Every single mission. It is not fucking original at all. The third issue I have is also in regards to repetition. The story missions use the same locations over and over and over again. What the fuck? Why are the missions using the same exact location each and every time? Go to the library and kill enemies. Next mission, go to the library again, except this time you're going to go a little further into the library and you're going to end up in the museum. Now for the next mission, we're going to go to the start of the museum, then head to the police station, and finally to the swimming pool, except I have to cut through the library again, which I already saw for the first two fucking missions. It's absurd. And it's not like a mission ends and you start the next mission at the exact same spot. No, 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 no. Each time you finish a story mission, you jump back into the next mission. You start at the very beginning of the map, and you have to travel your ass all the way back to the same fucking place you were just in. How the fuck do you design some shit like that? I mean, it's awful game design, just to say the least. I mentioned this during the live stream, but at times, it feels like you're playing Resident Evil all over again. You visit the same spots over and over and over again, and even in the tower, they have some stupid shit like visiting the speaker, who's going to give you an item to take over to the Vanguard, where you cash in the item, and then you bring it over to the gunsmith. Why the fuck do I need to see 2 to 3 people just for my fucking rewards? How about you give me my fucking reward? It's like, ooh, look, I brought a robot's eyeball. Oh, here, take this ticket over to the gunsmith, see if he gives you a fucking machine gun. Give me a break, man. Bungie mentioned this is the largest game in terms of scale, and while there's plenty of land to cover and plenty of map space, I would say about 70% of the outdoor space is barely used. The indoors and buildings seem to be used a little bit more, but the open spaces have almost nothing out there. It's quite annoying to see. Just go to the moon. All you're doing is traveling along corridors and there are no fucking enemies. Go to Venus or Mars. Oh god, Mars. Mars are some of the longest corridors you can possibly find, and there's absolutely nothing in there. Nothing in any of those. So you have this grand open world, yet nothing to fucking shoot. Basically, you're just wandering around with absolutely no loot to find, no caves to find, nothing. Even the guns themselves are somewhat repetitive. Just look at all the gun models. Each class has the same base model. Look at the auto rifles. Every gun has the same base model with a few features on it to make it look different. Maybe it's some paint, some color, some attachments. Obviously, the stats of the gun, the fire rate are a little bit different, but the base model of each gun is identical. And that goes for every single gun. All the shotguns look the same. All the sniper rifles are the same. All the pulse rifles look the same. Every gun type has no variety in the base model. All they did was add attachments and colors and little pieces and trinkets onto the motherfucker just to make them look just a touch different from each other. I mean, that's just outright fucking laziness right there. You know, it's very rare that a game with a shitty campaign like this can manage to be so much fun. Because I'll tell you right now, with all of its flaws in the campaign, this game is fucking great to play. Once you leave all of that shit behind, as they said, getting to level 20 is just the start of your journey. In other words, play your shitty non-existent campaign to level 20, and then you can do all the fun shit in the game. And I must say, Bungie is right on that one. There is a ton of shit after you beat the campaign, because now you have these strike missions, you have crucible missions, you have faction missions to unlock all their gear, the Iron Banner, hunting down strange coins for the Xur, Agent of 9 motherfucker, collecting more glimmer, bounties, public events, ranking up your subclasses so that you have 2 classes in this motherfucker, though I think they're gonna add a 3rd. And now you have a ton of shit to do, but it's all after playing that weak-ass campaign. It's almost as if they're asking you to race through the campaign to level up quickly in order to enjoy all the content that they focused on. Think of the campaign as sort of a very long intro mission to the game. In most games, you get some kind of extended training mission or even like a tutorial. The best way to describe the campaign of Destiny is it's one long-ass tutorial before you can start enjoying what this game has. Although I do have to say this, the graphics and the look of Venus are on point. In all honesty, that's a really gorgeous world that they built for Venus. And at times, they actually remind me of part of BioShock, between the lush gardens, the colors of the background, the broken down buildings, the lighting effects. You know, there's this one part of the map where the Fallen and the Vex are actually fighting it out next to a down ship. You guys on the map probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And that looks like a section straight out of a BioShock map. Between the color, the water, it is quite impressive to see that they actually pulled that off. So I love playing BioShock. And to remind me of that game and match the level of detail in a unique world is pretty damn amazing. It's not as great as Rapture, of course, but Venus is a damn fine place to look at in the game, so I will give Bungie definitely some credit for that. But getting back to the game, even with all of its major flaws in the campaign, the portions after this game are pretty great. I do wish they would have opened up more areas before the game started, you know, like King's Watch or whatever the fuck it's called on Earth. Some of the chambers on the moon, but I assume those are going to be parts of DLC or parts of content they're going to roll out in the future. I know there are 2 strike missions that are listed on Destiny's database that they haven't released. I don't know if that's going to be extra content. I don't think it's DLC because they aren't listed as DLC. They're listed as actual missions, one on Mars and one on Earth. So it seems like there is more content. It's just a matter of them releasing and saying, oh look, we're supporting the game. I have a feeling that those strike missions are done and they're going to make it some kind of special event and then say, okay, we're just going to leave it out there for you guys so you can play it anytime. Guarantee you that's exactly what happened. I'm also curious to see what the raid is going to be like. However, my guess is it's going to be just like a strike mission. It's going to be just a touch bit harder and more annoying since everything else in this game was oversold and overhyped. Will I play raids? Of course I will, but I'm guessing it's going to be a letdown from what they said the shit is actually going to be. The enemy types here are pretty good, and each type of enemy has a variety of attacks that make you change their tactics. You know, each enemy has their own playstyle. For the most part, the Fallen will hide, and they're going to take cover, popping shots at you where they can. The Hive use a mixed tactics of low-level shit like charging you, and high-level sword knights firing shit at you, and knights coming at you with a big-ass fucking sword, or whatever that shit is. The Vex keep charging and teleporting, including having their head shot off and getting more aggressive. And the Cabal are just non-stop streams of fire. You know, I wish they would have had some enemies that would charge you a little bit more. They have those guys with the shield, but eventually they get to a point and they stop. They don't charge you all the way, but that would have really fucked up your day. But with the jumping, the shields, the railguns, and the missiles, oh my god, they are armed to the teeth. I really wish they would have been shooting at you while jumping. That would have been a shit-inducing moment right there. those fuckers jump high, man. I'll tell you right now, for those fat-ass space turtles, damn, those motherfuckers can jump high. But in any event, all you need is an accurate sniper rifle to deal with those guys. No amount of shotgunning is gonna work against them. Basically, snipe their fucking heads off, and that's it. Now, amazingly enough, the seamless worlds they created are pretty damn good. You know, I was initially skeptical going into the alpha and the beta that they would be able to pull off this MMO style shared world and whatnot, but they did manage to do it pretty seamlessly for a console. It's certainly not as robust as a full MMO style game on PC, but obviously consoles have their limitations. So for consoles, this is a pretty good damn attempt. They managed to hit the mark on the seamless world they promised, albeit the world is a bit small when you actually play the game. You know, Bungie's also going to be rolling out plenty of content over the next few weeks and months to keep the shit fresh. They had that weekend playlist or whatever the fuck it was with that shit on salvage. Oh god, that fucking shit. But anyway, they have these heroic missions that change every day, high level strikes, and the upcoming Iron Banner where I'll probably get my ass kicked because everyone will have high level shit. Overall, as a game, if I had to rate the game, I would say the campaign is pretty piss poor, but everything else in this game is on point, but there just isn't enough variety outside of grinding all the existing shit to collect more stuff. If you can tolerate the absolutely dreadful design of the campaign, the overall weak storytelling of the game until you get to level 20, it's certainly worth it. How much fun the game has is obviously an issue for each player, but for me, the fun factor is way up there with other games that I've spent weeks and months playing. The biggest issue that I see happening with this game is that Bungie and Activision are going to be using DLC as a way to expand on the story and shit in the game. It's going to require expansion packs and other bullshit to elaborate on the non-existent story that they created and add more content, and that right there is just outright wrong. I mean, there's no meat in this story, and if the DLC is supposed to do that, then I'm going to be yelling my ass off at Bungie all over again when they release that shit that I have to pay for. I'm sorry, but if I pay $60 for a game, I expect some sort of completeness to the game. This game doesn't have that. It feels incomplete, and it feels like the DLC will be shit people have to pay more money just to get the actual story behind this motherfucker, and that right there is total bullshit. Personally, I think the game needed another year or two to feel like the game that they actually promised us. I think Bungie needed a better writer and a storyline creator to make this game into something decent, because in the state it's in, this is not a well-built game. Definitely not a Game of the Year contender, and the only thing it has going for it is the fun factor, and that's relative to each person. There's no excuse for the repetitive missions over and over and over again. There is no excuse for not having a storyline that actually explains what the fuck you're doing. There is no excuse at all for spending all these years to make something that was this basic in design. It is absolutely dreadful that they overpromised on this game and basically underdelivered when it comes to the variety in this motherfucker. I know that this is still going to be a game that I play for in a while, especially now that I beat the campaign on all 3 characters and got all that stupid shit out of the way, but I would only recommend this game to pretty much anyone looking for something decent on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles, with the warning that you're going to suffer through a shitty design campaign before the game actually opens up to the fun parts. Yes, you're going to have to play 20 levels of whatever the fuck just to open up all the fun shit in the game where you can rank up and get all the cool stuff that Destiny has to offer. I'm not entirely thrilled with the campaign, but I am enjoying all the shit outside of the campaign, which makes up for the lack of content. Anyways, I'm sure that this is exactly what people were expecting. Someone that would say that the campaign was a piece of shit, but everything else was done pretty well. So now that you guys know what I think about the game, I'm still going to be playing this shit for quite a while. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the next video.